Absolutely. Jimmy Albertson and Jason Thomas in studio here on the show, and we got another guest lined up tonight. He's the brainchild behind this 125 Dream Race series that happened at Hangtown, at Lakewood, and at Washougal. FMF was a big part of it as well. Ivan Tedesco won this weekend.
He did.
Our buddy the Noof, whole shot. Then promptly ate shit in the back and pulled out with a bleeding nose and a busted thumb. So
right.
it didn't go so well for the Noof. But this thing's been really cool, man. A lot of people watched it. A lot of people are into it. And if David Pingree were here, he'd be basically jerking off about this series because he believes there's a 100% a place for this class. A market and a place for this class. But let's get the man on the phone, Joey Lancaster. What's up, Joey? How are you, man?
Hey, how's it going, Steve? I actually just wrote down everything you just said, and that's going to be what I'll use for all of our press releases. So.
Oh, fantastic. Good to hear. Hey, by the way, Joey, that new fly gear, just fantastic. Fantastic.
Yeah, did you see what Tedesco was wearing? He was on the hey spot on the podium.
Nice one. Thank you for coming on. I enjoy it. Thanks for getting the new fin. It didn't go so well, but, hey. Whatever.
Yeah, I went down and walked down and saw him on the line before practice, and he was all stoked. But yeah, I mean, at least he got the whole shot photo, so that's really all that matters.
Yeah, absolutely.
In old Noof territory, he would have got the whole shot, and then he would have been cracking beers before the actual race was over. So
yeah, absolutely.
I'm glad he got that out of the way.
Hey, what about the Glen Helen guys trying to jank you and do their own two-stroke race? You care? Does it matter? Did you try to get with them? What happened there?
Well, first off, I think it's all good. Like. Each one of these is promoted locally at the races, so I don't have a relationship with those guys. So why would they kind of take me under the wing? But from what I understand, I mean this whole thing, like our original Dream Race, we started 6 years ago at Washougal, and it was just a fun weekend event. Yep. And then last year we got the opportunity because there was a little bit of time in between the NBC TV schedule, so. Actually, John Ayres and Davey Coombs reached out and said, hey, if you want to do anything, well, Ryan Huffman that runs Washougal hit me up and knew that I would be able to come in and make something happen and something that was fun. So that kind of led into this year, and really it was last minute. I mean, I got the email from Davey Coombs and the call from John Ayres, it was almost 5 weeks before Hangtown, and from what I understand, Hangtown already had something going, and then to answer your question, Glen Helen had already been promoting their two-stroke race, so it kind of they didn't want to step away from that. They kind of already had some momentum there, but the Hangtown guys were kind of able to change some stuff around, and then of course the Colorado guys were all thumbs up, and then Washougal, obviously.
Now you can discount this all you want, but the fact was, Joey, you had full gates for all 3 rounds, didn't you?
Yeah, actually, it was funny walking around in the pits. I mean, we're just privateer promoters, is what I call us, because we're just doing this for fun. We're volunteering our time to really make it happen and to show that. More or less, there's still a lot of fun to be had on motorcycles, even though the high-end pro racing still needs to happen. But yeah, we actually had more guys at Hangtown than there were in the 250F class there for a little bit. So the talk was funny as we're sitting there at our RV, and guys are walking up asking what's going on. So it's been crazy. I mean, the inbox has been smoking. As soon as we put out word that this was happening, and that was really the hardest part, was to figure out the politics and figure out how everything needed to happen and the timing for everything, moving forward. So that was the big hurdles that we had.
Marks, what'd you do there? You just hit the intro button.
I didn't mean to.
You didn't like Joey? You didn't like what Joey was saying?
You just cut him right off.
Cut you right off for a second there, Joey.
That was my fault.
I said politics, and they started coming back out already.
Yeah. He's fired. Don't worry. He'll be immediately fired. So the 120, we had FMF and Husqvarna stepping up and giving away 125 to a guy who did all 3 rounds. I understand there were 9 guys up for this?
Yeah, it was 9 guys, and that goes back to early on, when we were just the timing was just so close that we wanted to do something that was almost like a little mini championships. That's how the Triple Crown came out. But the timing in it, I mean, you got to remember you're talking to guys that are old A-class riders, old pro riders. Nobody was ready for this at all. When we first put out the press release, it's not like everybody was like, I totally have time to travel all. It was a little bit different, but what we wanted to do, and it's something similar that we do at our original races, we like to have it more of a kind of a community event. not necessarily the fastest guy won, although Devin Watson was the guy that actually walked away with the new Husqvarna 125, and he would have been right up there if we had like a full championship series. But it's kind of more or less, let's try to give back to the dudes that did drop everything they had and
I like
try
that.
to make it happen.
I like that because oftentimes the winner doesn't need it or has the most support or whatever. So I like the idea that you did that. Now, who did win the point series if you added it up?
Lane Shaw.
Yeah, Lane Shaw would have been the rider out of Texas, and he was actually. He was up front and having fun. He actually hole shotted the first one at Hangtown, and it was everybody was going nuts in his camp for that. But who knows where this thing goes? It's the amount of talk behind it, and I feel like the only thing negative about it are just the dudes that didn't get the call to race. Everybody else is excited.
I have a small. It wouldn't be the PulpMX show without me having a complaint. I have a small complaint. I don't know. And JT's kind of on board with me. I don't know about letting the 150s in there.
Yeah.
Like, it feels like that's a massive advantage compared to YZ125 or KX125 or whatever. But I don't know how else you get around that because now you got to check and there's going to be cheaters. And I understand the bikes are identical. So I don't know.
Yeah,
Joe.
well, that's so. At the beginning, I mean, it's just all about having like who do you have police it? If there's people behind it, I'm all up for making it real. You know, and I mean, it's myself, my wife, and my other buddy Kit that are out there, and we're the only. MX Sports has been awesome, and they're excited to have us there, but they're like, here you go, like have fun,
I get it. I mean,
you can visually see it. That Tyler Livesey was on a 150 at Colorado, and he was popping the triple step up, and I'm just like, dude, there's 250 guys short in that.
Yeah.
Well,
I don't know.
The Noof's not the leanest individual.
No, he is not. No, a lot of tall boys.
And he pulled the whole way.
From gate 34.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. No, I don't know. That's it. That's the only thing. It's just like, if I got a YZ125, I'm like going, shit.
Or a Honda 125 like Tyler Villapoto.
The history around racing motorcycles, right? If there's nobody there to actually check, somebody's always going to run something.
Right? Oh, yeah. If you had nothing, if you just said, hey, it's 125 only, guys.
If you're not cheating, or if you don't get caught, it's not cheating, right?
Exactly. And I thought it was really cool. So let me ask you this. One of my questions are, and I guess I really didn't understand sort of what a skeleton crew it was with what that you're doing this with, but like, I think you could take this out there, man, and do something with it.
Yeah, it's
I know you have a real job. I know you have a real job and everything, but I think there's a market for this.
I'm good with him quitting that job.
Okay.
I think the best way to do it.
Quit the job, Joey.
The best way to do it would be to advertise it as like some sort of amateur all-star event. Like,
no, I don't.
Well, we go both ways. Like, you see what happens in Europe, right? So that's
easy on going
the amateur event, like the next riders coming up, giving them a little bit of national, exposure and an opportunity to ride the tracks. But the other thing, and the other boat is the one that Pingree's in, just rowing the shit out of, and that's the one that it's the kind of the older A-class riders. It's the regional guys that maybe they never got their pro license, or maybe they did, but then they life happens, they got a job, or whatever happens, right? That's where we see a lot of the traction is like these guys coming out of the woodwork like, dude, this was my dream to do something like this, and be able to kind of come out and do that, and then afterwards they're all sitting in the pits drinking beers and just telling epic bench racing stories. And not to think that would take away from the amateur stuff, but there's already such a big amateur schedule that you've talked about plenty on your show, in the US, that it's like even Coombs. I mean, Coombs just threw out a huge story in the latest Racer X, if you have a chance to grab that. But
never heard of it.
He talks about doing a 9-race series where it's three on the West Coast, 3 Central, and 3 on the East Coast, and then you kind of take the top 10 from those 3 races each, and then you throw in some of kind of like back to like the political side of it, some of like those high-end guys that you want to get in there,
right?
And then all of a sudden you have like a final championship race.
This is your chance to make some money. Make it happen, Joe. You could do this.
Here's a fun one that you could do, and it probably wouldn't work, and this is just me talking, but
you've had some beers.
Yeah, well, I'm still on my first one. Don't worry about it. But you could do a deal with a manufacturer like, say, KTM or Husqvarna, and you could have like, basically, KTM used to do this thing called the Race of Champions, and they bring 10. It was like almost like Junior Challenge. They bring 10 65s and have the 10 best 60 riders in the country race them.
Yep.
And you could do the same thing with the 125s and just have like a bunch of old vet guys, that old former racers come and they have to ride the identical bikes to each other.
I mean, yeah.
Well, that's kind of what the whole idea is. I mean, every professional racing organization will always have the high end. Like the dream race is not necessarily about two strokes forever and 125. We love them because they're easy to work on. We love them because they're cheap to find. But at the same time, when you get down to it, it's about building that community of people that aren't scared to work on the machine that they're riding with, or maybe they don't know, but maybe their dad does, or maybe their buddy does, and it really brings a community together. Some of these guys will spend the entire year building bikes, just for that one chance to either race at this or an original race or whatever it is. And it's hard to see that when you're dumping. I mean, we all see how expensive these bikes are all the time, the new ones that are coming out, and we need those. We need those for the high end of the sport as that continues to push. But I feel like we're missing those first two steps on the ladder of motocross, where we're taking away that maybe quote unquote spec class, where maybe it is the same YZ125 where they continue to reprint Cowie gets back into it and they just hit reprint on James Stewart's 05 125, for into the future, but what if it was $5,000? That'd be killer. You're going to put the different bars and different stuff on it anyhow. So.
Yeah. JT, also too, another positive about this race is that it's hard to get hurt on a 125. You can, of course, Noof did, but speeds are lower.
It's just way more forgiving.
Yeah,
they handle well. Speeds are lower.
And that's why you're saying you can get away with just bringing bikes and riding them. You couldn't do that on a 450. It'd be so dangerous. Yeah. But I've already got the name for the class. It's called the KTM Senior Challenge.
Senior Challenge.
There we go.
Boom. Pitch it to KTM. I'll take 10%.
My big thing with this, Joey, and I've said it to Ping, and I've said it on these shows, I'm okay with two strokes coming back. Sure, I get it. Less expensive, more fun, easier to maintain. I would argue on the easier to maintain part because if you don't modify the shit out of your 250F and just change the oil, they're not they go longer. But here's my thing: these OEMs, they got to stop being fucking greedy. You can't ask $7,000 for a 10-year-old YZ125. Stop it. Stop it, Yamaha.
Stop it.
That's what they're doing. You can almost get a 250F for the same price. It's not much more to get a 250F. Now, so they're being greedy in my eyes. Price these things accordingly, sell them.
You know why they don't want to do it is because they're trying to sell 4-strokes, and they know if they label those 125s like they used to, that...
I don't think they're trying to sell 4-strokes. If they would just discontinue two-strokes. But they haven't.
Yeah, well, it's all we've seen in the past. If there's a market there, I mean, same thing that me and JT deal with all day, at the dealership level. If there's a market for something, it'll create its own feet,
Yeah.
And just so look at Villapoto was up there on a 12-year-old Honda.
Yeah.
He was getting pulled so bad.
If you keep it a carbureted bike or carbureted machine and you keep the displacement the same, there's no reason why you can't just go find that favorite bike, in case something crazy happens to suspension in the future or whatever it is, right?
Right.
All these bikes are still competitive, and that's what really opens up a lot of those eyeballs. Is there is KTM's and the Husqvarnas and like you said, the Yamaha that's been really the same for a long time, but that's maybe why Yamaha keeps it that way. It works, and obviously they're seeing a little bit of change with the Husqvarna and KTM coming out with some new crazy fuel injected bike, but.
Right.
As it moves forward, it's that's a big part that drives too, and that's our aftermarket side.
Yeah.
The story of buying these bikes off of Craigslist or whatever, nickel ads or whatever crazy stuff you look at. That's a big part of it. And you talk to a lot of the dealers around, and they're never hesitant to help out because they know that they hadn't sold a whatever 2-stroke spark plug or air filter for that bike and all year except for a month before the dream race. So.
Yeah. Just don't charge full price for these things, OEMs. That's all. Just stop it. Just make them affordable, and they'll come back, and everybody will enjoy them. I don't know.
I think half the fun of riding a 2-stroke is buying a used one and cleaning it up and building it up. It really is a lot of fun.
I got one down in the garage that I built, the 89.
I've got 2.
It cost me a lot of money. So
I got an old RM250 2-stroke that I got, and I got aluminum tank for it, and W did all the wheels up for it. It looks bitchin'. I'm just there's still so much work to be done. But once it's all done, it's gonna be awesome.
So there we go, Joey.